Jimmy Dore, because the Jan 6 committee is on, there's any number of things happening. Hunter Biden should be in prison, says Joe Biden, is the title of this one, because I guess he's going to use stuff about crack from the early 90s as a way of like doing some sort of weird pushback, like everybody is arrested morally and intellectually the way Jimmy is. And then this one's Joe's biggest lie yet. And before I go, let's take this one's shorter. So let's take a real quick look into Joe's biggest lie yet.
And tweeted this out July 9th.
Okay. July 9th, Joe Biden tweeted this out.
He says, "This is why elections matter."
Which, of course, Jimmy knows they don't.
You want to see what the video was? This is what he tweeted out.
The ultra-MAGA Republicans, they're going after your Social Security. They've written it down. Every 5 years, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid have to be reauthorized or they go out of existence. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, he has a proposal to cut Social Security. I would have thought, had I not seen it on paper and heard them talk about it, that I was making this up. Not a joke. The senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, promised again that if they regain power, they're going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. That's why elections have consequences. That's why they matter.
Okay, so Jimmy's going to make some sort of, is Jimmy's hat crooked? No, that's his head. You want your Social Security, Medicare? I want you to have it too, Francie. That's why I voted for Biden. Now, watch how he, what do you think? Hold on. Remember the story that TYT flipped out a few weeks ago? The irony that Jimmy's been saying that TYT is leaning towards him and he's going to reference more than likely the person that Biden put on the board. Remember, it's a bipartisan board. You have to nominate Republicans and Democrats. And the Democrat, we've got all great Democrats on there, but he has to nominate some Republicans as well. Watch this.
So Joe Biden tweeted out a video pretending he's defending your Social Security from the bad Republicans.
For the record, what Biden is referencing there is that Rick Scott says that every 5 years, all social programs have to just disappear and they must be reauthorized or they go away. There has to be a vote. And if they can't make the vote by a deadline, they just go offline. Like the Violence Against Women Act, which is another piece of legislation that Jimmy doesn't give a fuck about. So he wants Social Security to be the same as the assault weapons ban.
There's jokes too.
Oh, by the way, there's jokes. All right. There's jokes too. Does he have Kurt behind the window feeding him jokes?
Oh, you're kidding.
No, why would he kid about there's jokes? Of course there's jokes. He pays to be on the show. He pays in jokes, Jimmy. You call it the Jimmy Dore Show, and he writes jokes for you so that you can still say you're a comedian. That's the arrangement.
I know I sent him.
I got it. Yeah.
Here's the jokes. Here's the go. He's going to read the jokes. Here's the jokes.
What kind of right-wing scumbag think that's what should be cut? Social Security. Thank you, Joe Biden. I had no idea what was at stake until you tweeted out that video.
That's the joke. That's it. That is, just so you know. I mean, I feel like does he need one of these? Does he need like one that says joke? And you know what? It's not so much the writing, it's the style and commitment. It's all about timing. I'm sorry, it's all about timing. It's all about timing. It is.
The only problem is, okay, both parties
work against us, tweeted. In his promotional video, Joe Biden accused Bernie Sanders of running a smear campaign against him on Social Security. Biden's a liar.
Joe Biden's been doing he's been wanting to cut Social Security his whole career. And in fact, what he just did.
Oh, yeah, there he is. There he is. Was it Biggs? Right, Andrew Biggs.
Was he tapped the anti-Social Security
He tapped him.
ideologue to oversee the program.
He taps an anti-Social Security ideologue to oversee the program. Now, for the record, partial privatization or changing Social Security to save it, I would not classify that. Although I would be hesitant to enact any of those things, certainly, without a good reasoning. I need Andrew Biggs. Is that his name? Okay, Andrew Biggs. Because sorry, Biggs. Biden. There you go. While I'm not for those things in general, or like raising the age or whatever, how you have to do it, the idea that you're going to save it for future generations by making slight modifications is not anti-Social Security. It isn't. Just fucking isn't. You might not agree with them, but it's not the same as being we don't need that shit. Yeah, working on efficiency of it, making sure that the people who need it most get it. And I'm curious what the Lever article says about this, or even goes past this, whether he just like saves the headline.
Biden nominated Andrew Biggs, this guy, a think tank dentist.
And by the way, this is the article. Hold on, back up one second. I'm going to open this. No, I want to do this. I want to go here, open link, a new tab, open link, a new tab. There we go. All right, so this is the article he's talking about. The lever. Watch now. Exposing the Social Security critic tapped to oversee program. Oh, there's a whole video on it or something. Watch now. This is
stay in the workforce a little longer.
We need people to delay retirement, to work longer.
Work more, retire later. Delay retirement, work a full lifetime.
Biden has tapped an anti-Social Security ideologue to
He's anti-Social Security ideologue.
oversee the program.
Biggs fundamentally is somebody who does not believe that there is a retirement crisis.
Do we have a retirement crisis in this country? Oh, not at all.
He worked on Bush's privatization.
Okay, the music is very scary, but the idea is that largely he's talking about just extending the age for it because as people live longer and healthier lives, yada yada, but definitely not shutting it down. You know who wants to shut it down? Rick Scott. You know who wants to shut it down? Republicans currently running for office. The people who are going to be elected this fall, especially the maggots, the far right group, they want to eliminate it.
With a history of slamming Social Security to oversee government retirement benefits for 66 million Americans. Who appointed him? Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's weird. Hold on one second. By the way, he's not going to oversee it alone. He's going to be a member of the Social Security Advisory Board. He was nominated in May. Today, Joe Biden announced his intent to nominate Andrew Biggs to serve on the Social Security Advisory Board, an independent agency with 7-member bipartisan board that advises the President, Congress, and the Commission of Social Security on policies related to Social Security and supplemental security income programs. The position is subject to Senate confirmation. So you have to be able to get somebody through. They're going to be Republicans and they're going to be Democrats. Biggs is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, where he studies Social Security reform, state and local government pensions, and public sector pay and benefits. Before joining AEI, Biggs was the principal deputy commissioner of SSA. He's been there before, where he oversaw SSA's policy research efforts. In 2005, as an associate director of the White House National Economic Council, he worked on Social Security reform. In 2001, he joined the staff of President's Commission to strengthen Social Security. Biggs was interviewed on radio, television, was published widely in academic publications, as well as in daily newspapers such as the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. He's also testified before Congress on numerous occasions. 2013, the Society of Actuaries appointed Biggs co-vice chair of the Blue Ribbon panel tasked with analyzing the causes of underfunding in public pension plans and how governments can securely fund plans into the future. In 2014, Institutional Investor magazine named him one of the 40 most influential people in the retirement world in 2016. He was appointed by President Obama to be a member of the Financial Control Board overseeing reforms to Puerto Rico's budget and restructuring of the island's debt. By the way, if you'll notice, Puerto Rico still exists. He was not presented as an anti-Puerto Rico activist. And Jimmy didn't read any of this shit. Not like, or didn't look any further than the Levers article, I bet.
For years, he has been a vocal critic of expanded Social Security and workers' rights to a secure
and workers' rights. All right, so we're getting really watery. Expanded Social Security. Like what? He's actually in charge. Like his job entirely in all these previous situations has been to make sure that Social Security stays solvent.
Stable retirement free from the vagaries of the stock market. He has dismissed the retirement crisis as a non-issue.
Right, we saw that. And again, what's their definition of, quote, the retirement crisis other than the issue? Let's see. This is what he's talking about. This is March 28th. Let's see. Where do we stand? This is Market Watch. This is all private, though. Like public retirement crisis being what it is. They mean the pension crisis, essentially.
And as recently as 2020, he blamed the problems with the Social Security system on older Americans' game of chicken.
Okay. Older Americans. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Andrew Biggs. I'm sure we're going to find out that this game of chicken. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Senate urged to block Biden's privatization. Now, this is Jake Johnson. Okay, I want to find out where he said. Senate. This article is being played in a bunch of this Common Dreams. Where's the actual? Biden may have just doomed the entire Social Security right. Okay. These are all the same articles saying the same thing. Older Americans' game of chicken, advocated for Social Security cuts. Okay, where did he say this, though? I want to see what the context was other than just they're going to... Because basically the idea is that will there be enough money when they get there? Advocated for Social Security cuts, group is going to... Social Security, these are the exact same quotes. Almost, yeah. Last month, the Levers' Matthew Cunningham Cook called attention to the president's pick and warned to suggest there could be a coordinated push in Washington to cut the Social Security program, which provides retirement. No, whatever. Long record of advocating Social Security cuts. Realized for years been a vocal critic. Vagaries of the stock market. That's the same quote exactly. That's who they're quoting. He has dismissed the retirement crisis as a non-issue, and recently as 2020 blamed problems with Social Security system on older Americans' game of chicken. While the seat on the bipartisan panel is by tradition assigned to a Republican, Biden could have chosen a moderate candidate. The guy is a moderate candidate certainly by current standards, or even leaned on precedent to avoid the nomination process altogether. Just leave the seat empty. Former President Donald Trump routinely refused to nominate Democrats for seats on boards and commissions. Yeah, he's an asshole, though. Elizabeth Warren led the introduction of the Social Security Expansion Act, which would lift the cap on income subject to Social Security payroll tax and boost the program's annual benefits by $2,400. At a time when that's partly what he's advocating. Andrew Biggs has advocated shit like this, raising the cap on how much money you put in. If you make more money, you pay more in, and then it protects more people.
Is that referred to them not voting for him? That's the game of chicken?
I don't know what that game is, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, you pointed to it like you know what it means, and then you go, "What? Look what it..." I mean, that's what they call it. He said this.
This guy that Biden just appointed
is to the Republican seat on a board, has previously worked with Obama and the Biden administration. At no point in any of this shit did Social Security get shut down.
That's him
But currently, Rick Scott is literally saying we need to sunset it.
talking. Here's
That
another. What? Go ahead.
That sounds very much like what that means is people are going to be mad you cut it, and what are they going to do? Not vote for you? Like, that's what it sounds like he's saying with that to me.
Okay.
Well, then go fucking find the quote and play the whole goddamn thing. Look, I know I'm the only person who goes through this stuff with clarity and plays the whole goddamn clip. And I know it can even be tiresome sometimes as we dive through this, because I didn't cut this chunk out of Jimmy's show. He did. This is his.
Am I crazy?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll assume that it means the worst ever, and move ahead, because both of these assholes are great with economics.
And
why don't you just talk to us about money printing at some point?
2 decades ago, Biggs worked on a Bush administration commission that pushed to privatize Social Security.
Right, and didn't. And again, pushed to privatize. Fucking hell.
In response to questions from the lever, Biggs suggested he no longer favors privatizing Social Security.
All right. So I'm going to go with anything anybody says before they still believe. We'll just put a pin in that for Jimmy.
Instead, he said he now believes that nation Social Security-like programs should be more focused on guaranteeing against poverty in old age, while middle and high-income individuals take on greater responsibility.
High-income?
Believes that nation Social Security-like programs should be more focused on guaranteeing.
First of all, the nation's Social Security. Did Jimmy retype this himself?
Against poverty in old age, while middle and high-income individuals take on greater responsibility for saving for retirement on their own, such as by the government establishing universal retirement savings accounts for every worker.
Right. So exactly what Warren and Sanders were talking about as a way to shore up Social Security, and also putting it taking the cap off of that for investing for people contributing to Social Security. But because people won't sign on to that, because you'll lose seats, because people won't vote for this, they're not interested, and that's a huge fucking group of people, what you do is you create a guaranteed savings account that's part of that doesn't ride entirely on government debt that has been borrowed repeatedly to pay for all kinds of stuff. Because the stock market, as shaky as it gets, if you could have sidecars and one of them fails, the other one might make up for the difference. Because the concern is that if you keep stacking all these people and you have all these people, the boomers getting older and not enough young people coming in, there will not be enough money to pay for people's Social Security if you use the current standard. Nations is plural. But it's that he now believes that the nation, ours, 'S, ownership, Social Security-like programs should be more focused on, again, they soften it up a bunch.
Now, what is that? That's privatizing Social Security.
No, it is not. It's actually raising the amount of money you're taking from people to guarantee their retirement that's beyond Social Security. And also, I mean, there's all sorts of programs that have been put in place where they're not going to raise the actual age of retirement. But if you choose not to, you can keep more money. You'll earn more interest. This is fucking stupid. That's not prioritizing it. It's adding in a higher amount on people who have more, who do better in life.
That's making Social Security not what.
Yeah, belonging to nations, but not multiple nations. He's talking about this one, the nation, our nation, the Americas.
It is an entitlement program because you pay into it.
Right. And you keep that part. But some people, it's not going to be enough to keep them, in their house. So you add you either raise the amount everybody has to kick in, and poorer people can't afford that, or you drastically raise it on people who make more in instances where they won't want to do that, or you create a sidecar to it possibility for people who are making a little bit more. Tax the rich. Grumpy Dave, there's not enough rich people in the world to make Social Security solvent in this regard. It has to be spread out over everybody. Eat the rich. We're talking about people who make $85,000 a year. Calm down. That's not what they're talking about. Yeah, Stephanie, lift the cap. That's what we're talking about. It's really simple. Like, this is just normal, functional economics. There's nothing extraordinary about any of this stuff.
And they're going to make it into a welfare program.
No, they're not.
So then now people can have disdain for it.
Is that what's going to happen? Dude, the Republicans are going to eliminate it as soon as they get elected. I would rather have a welfare system that, the Social Security that remains as it is and has an addendum added onto it for people who make more money to guarantee there's financial stability in their later years, that you can either take money out of at some point in your life if you need it and borrow against it and yada yada, then and people have disdain for it, then the Republicans under a new Trump or a Rick Scott or a DeSantis to literally get fucking rid of it.
He's not suggesting. He's suggesting privatizing.
No,
he's not. It's an addition.
Exactly.
He's not suggesting he's against it. Why did they say that he's suggesting he's against it?
He's 100% for it.
No, he isn't. Like, these two guys are just incapable of understanding this. Like, you could just this is a matter of brain cells at this point.
Oh, it's more.
Yeah, he's got more jokes. He gave you some more jokes, but put him behind there's more quotes you pulled out, more stuff to be wrong about. You know what? Put Kurt back behind the graphic.
It's after the other video.
As Jeff Hauser at the Revolving Door Project pointed out, Trump would routinely refuse to nominate Democrats for the seats on that commission.
No. At the Revolving Door, Trump would routinely nominate Democrats for seats they were owed on other bipartisan boards and commissions, including the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, and the Security and Exchange Commission. A, that's bad. B, not the same fucking thing.
That they were owed on other
Do you notice how Jimmy just lied to you? Do you notice how Jimmy just misread that on purpose?
Trump would routinely refuse to nominate Democrats for the seats on that commission.
That's not what that says. At all. So the idea is that Trump wants you to, wait, why am I reading? To think that Trump protected Social Security and Biden is attacking it specifically.
That they were owed on other bipartisan boards and commissions, including the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Securities and Exchange Commission. So there's supposed to be a certain amount of Democrats, certain amount of Republicans on these boards. Trump just ignored that shit.
Right. That's not good. And by the way, he served one term and he fucking lost.
But Biden isn't.
What again? What's he supposed to do? You're supposed to get points for just minority rat fucking.
Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump quietly pocket vetoed potential appointees recommended by Chuck Schumer during the Trump presidency. And sadly, the Democratic leadership ignored our call for action and never raised a fuss about it.
Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump quietly pocket vetoed potential appointees recommended by Chuck Schumer during the Trump presidency. And sadly, the Democratic leadership never ignored it. Oh, really? When was it? May of 2020?
So that's how you know Joe Biden's full of shit. And now you know why he's really here. I'll tell you why he's super full of shit. Watch this video.
Very exciting.
As Democrats, we can't launch dishonest attacks against fellow Democrats.
Why? Jimmy just did.
We have to.
Oh, was this put out by Biden during the campaign? Let's see.
Eat Donald Trump. Now Bernie's campaign has unleashed a barrage of negative attacks on Joe Biden.
And by the way, Jimmy, I think, referred to Bernie Sanders as the establishment's butt boy. meaning that I think, Jimmy, and I don't want to speak for you and Kurt, but I believe what you're wanting to infer is that by being their butt boy, that being gay and a bottom are wholly negative.
They've even accused Joe Biden of supporting Paul Ryan's cuts to Social Security.
How could he say that?
campaign is not telling the truth.
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare.
There it is.
No. That isn't it. Hold on. Biden on Paul Ryan Social Security full. No, this is the same. I try to explain. Biden accused Sanders campaign of sharing. There we go. I mean, this is fucking old, but there you go. Biden accuses Sanders' campaign of sharing doctored video of him attacking Social Security. Biden, for the first time on Saturday, addressed criticism from Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign over the former vice president's record on Social Security. Biden criticized the Sanders campaign for pushing a video he described as doctored that appears to show Biden agreeing with the former Republican Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan's stance on privatizing the program. Speaking at a town hall in Indianola, Iowa on Saturday, Biden fielded a question about his stance on Social Security from an audience member. Let's get the record straight. I'm not going to blame anybody, but let me just say the facts. There's a little doctored video. Whoops, where we go.
There's been, I've had phone calls, people asking me, what do you take about, does it concern you? What do you take about Joe's stance about what's going to happen to Social Security? So I'm going to ask you, what is your stance on Social Security?
Well, my stance on Social Security is, let's get the record straight. I'm not going to blame anybody, but, let me just say the facts. There's a little doctored video going around saying that, put out by one of Bernie's people. No, I'm serious. And I don't know if my staff has that video here, but saying that I agreed with Paul Ryan, the former vice presidential candidate, about wanting to privatize Social Security. It is, and PolitiFact looked at it, and they doctored the photo. They doctored the piece, and it's acknowledged that it's a fake. And so what we're doing is we're putting out what the actual exchange between Paul Ryan and I were, and I have been a gigantic supporter of Social Security.
Okay, here we go. At issue is a video of Biden speaking at the Brookings Institute, April 2018, widely shared by Sanders supporters and campaign staffers. A 20-second long clip shows Biden apparently saying Ryan was correct about Social Security. Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we have to go after? Social Security, Medicare. Biden says at the beginning clip. Now we need to do something about Social Medicare. That's the only way you could find room to pay for it. Let's see. Ever since Paul Ryan first proposed paying for Trump's tax cuts, okay. So fighting against here, Biden say Ryan was correct to go after that. That's the piece. PolitiFact article. Biden cited on Saturday claimed that he was agreeing with Paul Ryan. Biden's campaign said the former vice president was in fact mocking Ryan in those comments. The article also points to Biden said after the 22nd, we need a pro-growth, progressive tax code that treats workers as job creators as well, not just investors, that gets rid of unprotected loopholes like stepped-up basis and requires raises enough revenue to make sure that Social Security and Medicare can stay. It's worth noting that despite Biden's repeated use of the words doctored and fake, the video is neither, it's just edited. While the former vice president's comments were taken completely out of context and Sanders' campaign framing of his words is misleading, the Sanders campaign for weeks now has been prodding Biden over his feet. Let's see, this is the PolitiFact article. Let's see if they show it. There you go. That's the video that Jimmy just used. Yeah, doctored is neither of those things. But what he means is, you doctored if you lie by omission. You can cut off context. You can edit it, and that's what he means. It's doctored to look like if you go, they cut off the part that would give context. Sure. It was edited misleadingly. That would be a form of doctoring, I would argue. It's not important. It's a semantical argument. But in 2018, Biden lauded Paul Ryan for proposing cuts to Social Security and Medicare. False. This is the... he said that, wrote the Sanders campaign in a Jan 7 newsletter. Sweeping changes that Biden on Paul Ryan in context. The Sanders campaign pointed to a speech Biden gave at the Brookings Institute in April 2018. Biden's overall message was that folks in the middle class are in trouble and that the tax code is widely skewed toward taking care of those at the very top. Biden argued that tax cuts were creating more debt, putting middle class programs at risk. The Sanders campaign plucked out what Biden said about Ryan, but ignored the complete passage, which showed that Biden wanted Social Security and Medicare protected, and to accomplish that goal would require making changes to the tax code. To the tax code. The thrust of his point was about the tax code, is he's saying it does too much to help the uber rich. This is what Biden said about Ryan. Paul Ryan was correct when he did the tax code. It's the first thing he decided we had to go after. Biden said with a slight smirk. Biden then leaned in the microphone and said, Social Security, Medicare. Biden continued, now we need to do something about Social Security, Medicare, but then sarcastically whispered, that's the only way you can find room to pay for it. The Biden campaign said that he was mocking Ryan. I understand Biden told you have to actually watch and listen to his words. Here we go. This would be David Sirota, and the Bernie left are now smearing Joe Biden over Social Security cuts. Why did they go to that video instead? Okay, the video. Here's the video Sirota is referencing a speech gave at the Brookings Institute.
So here's what we have to change, in my view. I think they're answers. One, first I think we have to do is we have to deal with income inequity. I love Bernie, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I don't think 500 billionaires are the reason why we're in trouble. I hope my grandkids grow up to don't listen to their parents who all decided to do something, run the World Food Program, another one be Attorney General, another one run a social organization for at-risk youth. You know, they got all this education, and I should have had a Republican kid. So when they put me in a home, I'd have a window with a view. You know what I mean? But now there's going to be no view. But all kidding aside, we have not seen this huge concentration of wealth. And the folks at the top aren't bad guys. I get in trouble in my party when I say wealthy Americans are just as patriotic as poor folks. I found no distinction. I really haven't. But this gap is yawning. It's gaping. And it's having the effect of pulling us apart. You see the politics of it.
Sorry, hold on.
And the country's not going to stand for it forever. So we have to deal with the tax code. It's wildly skewed toward taking care of those at the very top. It overwhelmingly favors investors over workers. And it's riddled with unproductive expenditures. My economics teacher at the University of Delaware taught me the reason for a tax expenditure is to promote a social good, generate people taking risk, increase productivity. Raise your hand if you think that $1.3 trillion plus in tax expenditures, whether even half of it meets that, well, 2/3 of it meets that criteria.
He's talking about the Republican tax break that at the time.
Say where I come from, get a life. Look what's happened to the latest tax cut. Once again, those at the very top get the biggest breaks. And what do we have to show for it? Even our Republican friends are now beginning to admit there's no evidence these tax cuts are being put to work in the economy. No new growth, just more debt. And that puts middle-class programs that they rely on and they've worked for at real risk. Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare. Now, we need to do something about Social Security and Medicare. That's the only way you can find room to pay for it. Now, I don't know a whole lot of people in the top 0.1% or the top 1% are relying on Social Security when they retire.
He's talking about that's who the tax cut was for.
I don't know a lot of them. Maybe you guys do. So we need a pro-growth progressive tax code that treats workers as job creators as well, not just investors, that gets rid of unprotected loopholes like stepped-up basis. And it raises enough revenue to make sure that the Social Security and Medicare can stay, still needs adjustments, but can stay. And pay for the things we all acknowledge will grow the country.
There you go. This is a conversation about tax codes, and he's making the case that Paul Ryan's tax cuts and the Bush tax cuts were all aimed at making sure that and that Mitt Romney and what they were aiming for was all aimed at helping the 1.1 percent. That was who their tax breaks were looking at, and that's where their tax code points to. And he's saying none of them use Social Security. They don't give a fuck if Social Security and Medicare collapse. What year was this bit of Biden video taken? This is in, let's see, when is it? 2019 is when they posted this. Over, by the way, the video's not from then. It was from, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this was back when, where is it? They have it listed. Here's the video of him. If you listen to the speech, you'll notice it. Paul Ryan. I mean, this is when is this? 2012? Oh, and by the way, just in case you think this is just a Jimmy Dore thing, this goes back to 2019 when they were pushing back against him. Joe Biden, cut Medicare and Social Security. This is Cenk Uygur. That is clear language that I'm going to cut Social Security and Medicare, and I'm going to agree with Republicans on that. Means testing Social Security so that people in the upper 1% or even in the upper 20% don't get it anymore, and it goes to people who need it, is not cuts. It's cutting it from people who, the idea that Bezos is going to get a fucking check is absurd.
There he is agreeing with Paul Ryan.
No, he isn't. We just all watched that. And Jimmy's using the same short clip the Bernie Sanders campaign put out. Let's see. Real quick. I knew this would be involved, and I just okay. Let's see. See what the Here you go. Just real quick.
So Bernie Sanders declares he won't primary Biden, and also he went the extra mile and said he would support him if he runs again. See that, AOC? That's how you have to play the game when no one thinks you're pretty. You don't get...
Okay, so ageist and sexist as well. Also, Bernie is older than Biden is. Okay, thank you. Yeah, April 2018 was when that speech was given. And he was talking about, specifically, he was talking about, when he was running against Biden and the kind of trying to get a progressive tax cut.
Right. Now, Joe Biden made a commercial that said he didn't do this.
No. Joe Biden told the truth, and you are using a split-second clip from the Bernie campaign, who you think are Democratic establishment butt boys.
Said he couldn't believe that they talk about doing this.
Yes.
No. Both of you were fucking stupid. This is, it's getting lazier, I will say. Gone is are the French cuffs. Jimmy's going full, I don't know, Old Navy. He looks like a child star from the late 60s who's grown up and still does autograph signings in his outfit from the show. Oh, sorry, was he loud because the other one's loud? The other video is quiet. They're inconsistent.
Now, we need to do something about Social Security and Medicare. It's the only way you can find room to pay for it.
Whatever happened to that old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid.
They were doing a singular freeze on it. Not because he was trying to get rid of Social Security. It's because they were literally dealing with the budget back then in a way that they thought deficits genuinely mattered. It didn't. Ultimately, just like you having a mortgage, it doesn't ruin your life or make you in a debtor's prison to have a 30-year mortgage on a house you may only live in for 10 years. Yeah.
I meant
he frees everything uniformly, including military spending. Jimmy's not going to go, Biden is anti-military, is he?
I meant every single solitary thing in the government.
Yes, that's what a government spending freeze meant. Everything.
And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time. Somebody has to tell me in here how we're going to do this hard work without dealing with any of those sacred cows.
So that's Joe Biden claiming he's trying to save Social Security.
No, he was calling the bluff of the Republicans at that time, by the way. Everything's got to go. And by the way, these sacred cows, he meant the defense budget as well. So the idea was like, they want to cut defense. These lefties want to cut defense. They don't give a rat fuck. The Soviet Union fell, so they want to cut everything out of the military. And he's like, no, we said freeze everything. We're trying to reach a consensus here. And if I can't, I'm willing to give these things up, and you fuckers aren't willing to cut defense at all. What are we talking about? Again, I love how he thinks this is a slam dunk or something. Do his viewers think so? Did they buy this? I guess so.
Do you see why it's ridiculous?
Once, twice, three times a MAGA, an ultra MAGA suggestion.
No, that joke wasn't worth the list, Kurt. That wasn't. Yeah. I know you wanted to put that on the paper, but it was a mistake. And I like trying to throw it in there at the last second. I don't think Jimmy's going to pay you for it. I really don't. I think
Bernie now is let's watch this commercial again. Can I watch this again?
As Democrats, we can't launch dishonest attacks against fellow Democrats. We have to beat Donald Trump. Now Bernie's campaign has...
By the way, this is him absolving himself of any guilt, I suppose, of this year's midterm.
Unleashed a barrage of negative attacks on Joe Biden. They've even accused Joe...
Yeah, this one isn't doing that great. It's 173 rumbles. 716 views. I mean, it's today, so, give him some time, right?
Joe Biden of supporting Paul Ryan's cuts to Social Security.
We just showed you the video where he did that.
No, you didn't. You showed the same clip that everybody saw back in the campaign, and it ultimately fucked Bernie's campaign. This is asked and answered. This is old shit.
And they're upset that Bernie Sanders was pointing it out. It's not. This is no time to tell the truth about Joe Biden. We've got to beat Trump so we can protect Medicare.
And Jimmy, again, remember, Jimmy intentionally misread the earlier part of that article to infer that, on purpose, it seems, that Biden is doing something with Social Security that Trump not only didn't do, but worked to protect. He did not, he denied people, on that particular board, but then ultimately didn't try to privatize security or whatever because he was afraid the Democrats were going to do it?
And then we'll get elected and we'll cut Medicare.
No. The Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion expanded Medicaid coverage to nearly all adults with incomes up to 138% of the federal poverty level, $17,774 for individuals in 2021, and provided states with an enhanced federal matching rate for their expansion populations. To date, 39 states, including D.C., have adopted the Medicaid expansion, and 12 states have not adopted the expansion. Current status for each state is based on KFF tracking and analysis of state expansion activity. This is the ACA. Again, we started this off with the fact that the Republicans want to get rid of the ACA. By the way, so does Jimmy Dore. I'm sorry, Anna. We're almost done. There's like a minute left of this horse shit.
Campaign.
But again, I'd like to remind you, remember the January 6th thing happened today? This is what Jimmy was covering. This is the priority. Jimmy is rerunning debunked videos from the 2019 campaign from Bernie Sanders to attack Joe Biden 4 months from an election.
Is not telling the truth.
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to
Again, he's playing the same shit again. Dude, it doesn't make it more true. You cut it together, fucko.
go after? Social Security?
Hey, that does not match up with the initial denials.
So let's remember the first video.
The ultra MAGA Republicans.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Let's be completely generous that Jimmy thinks that Biden is going to cut Social Security and Medicare, make cuts to it, privatize it even as part of it. Okay. The Rick Scott plan is to fucking get rid of it.
They're going after your Social Security. They've written it down. Every 5 years, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid have to be reauthorized, or they
Sorry, I had to bring the audio down. I apologize.
go out of existence. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, he has a proposal to cut Social Security. I would have thought, had I not seen it on paper and heard them talk about it, that I was making this up. Not a joke.
You've endorsed this.
No, he has not.
I thought they were making it up. You mean that thing that you endorsed when you whispered in a really super unclever way?
He was dropping a truth bomb on
Yeah.
you.
Here's the truth. You got to cut Social Security and Medicare.
No, he said the whisper was on that's the only way you can come up with to save it is by cutting taxes.
And then he smiles about it.
Because he knows he's really saying something good, and you're the one that's lying about it.
You can all just do P90X like Paul Ryan. Have a great body. You don't need to go.
Why is that? Why is a Paul Ryan P90X reference good? Are we going to do Billy Beer jokes now?
Go to the hospital.
Ugh.
So, Joe Biden is currently right now trying to cut your Social Security.
No, he is not. By no measure. Fucking absurd. No, not true. A material lie. Garbage. Bullshit. Not even remotely true.
And Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare.
No, he's not. Well, sorry. Citation needed. You have 20 seconds left. Show me Joe Biden's Medicare cuts. And
it's the only way.
Hold on. Jesus Christ. Is there a witch in the studio? Hold on. Biden. It's just should I show it to you? When you search Biden Medicare cuts, should I can I do you think I'll come on? I know there's at least one Jimmy Dore fan out there that doesn't want me to show this. That does not. President Joe Biden signed a bill into law December 10th that will prevent billions in cuts to Medicare from taking effect early next year. The law halts a mandatory 2% federal Medicare spending sequester until April 2022 and stops a 4% statutory pay-as-you-go sequester. Medicare cuts averted. Congress and President intervene in Medicare payment. Okay, sequester cuts. Last week, he signed a S610, the Protecting Medicare and American Farmers from Sequester Cuts Act, completing a last-minute congressional effort to stave off Medicare cuts. The law will impact 2022 Medicare payments for family physicians in several ways. Increases the 2022 Medicare conversion factor, defers until 2023 cuts of 4% that were otherwise scheduled to be implemented in 2022, mandated by the Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2010. These cuts were meant to offset increases in the federal deficit. Exempts Medicare programs from Budget Control Act sequestration cuts from March 31st, 2022. The sequestration reduction will be 1% from April 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, and 2% the rest of 2022. Sequestration reductions apply to actual payments from Medicare administrative contractors, MACs. They calculated after beneficiary cost sharing and apply to only what Medicare pays. Delay cuts in Medicare fees for clinical laboratory services due to Protecting Access to Medicare Act. They was delaying the cuts in Medicare fees due to the Protecting Access to Medicare Act. Additionally, the law retains an update to clinical labor pricing included in the 2022 Medicare Physician Fee Schedule final rule. Clinical labor pricing is used to calculate the practice expense portion of Medicare physician payment rates to account for the cost of staff salaries and benefits. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has not updated the Bureau of Labor and data factored into them calculations since 2002. They ain't done shit since then. They have now. CMS will update clinical labor pricing over 4 years to account for significant increases in the cost of employing clinical staff, which will benefit family medicine. CMS, they're going to raise the payments to people working in family medicine clinics. Ain't that nice? We'll get there and what the fuck? I'm sorry, what were you saying, little Jimmy?
I'll just do P90X like Paul Ryan. Have a great body. You don't need to go to the hospital.
So, Joe Biden is currently right now trying to cut your Social Security and Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare.
He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. There you go. Hold on. Why did how come all the pages disappear? I don't understand this. Where you go? There you go. And then get back up here, silly. There you go. There's this weird click to the top of the screen thing that I don't understand, like in PCs. Like everything disappears. It's completely fucked up. It's so odd. There you go. Get out of here, doofy. All right. So, he's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it. They fuck you at the drive-thru. They fuck you at the drive-thru. Congress and President Biden intervene. This is literally the opposite of what the fuck he's saying. It's just evil shit.
It's the only way.
Here we're going to Sacramento.
Okay. Can I just say, what a raging pile of shit. Just stacks of fucking lies. Just nobody does, and nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody's even trying to totally just, I guess everybody hates whatever the establishment or the corporate devs or whatever the fuck so much that they're never going to look past what he says. They're just not going to. And it would be fine if they were just kind of, it was a bunch of, disenfranchised dickheads who don't vote anyways or never did. But he's actively participating, just like TYT, in this campaign to mute the vote this fall to make Democrats apparently pay for not bending over for the Justice Democrats or some shit. When Jimmy said himself in the video I showed you with Russell yesterday, that when they did this big march for Medicare for All, no politician showed up, the nurses unions didn't show up, and all of these people who allegedly support it didn't show up, meaning that the policy that they're advocating for is not passable at this time. And so if you actually care about patients and sick people or old people or anybody in a desperate situation financially because of their medical bills, you will do everything in your fucking power to make sure that whatever incremental steps can be done, can be taken, are taken every fucking time. Because no one showed up to their bullshit. Nobody supports what they're talking about. So the idea that they should somehow be able to muscle people into, which is exactly what TYT is doing. TYT has, like, besides their kind of run-of-the-mill, like, louder, cursier, if that's a word, version of kind of mainstream takes on Republican intransigence and assholes, you know, and the fact that they're assholes in their behavior. Besides all that, what do they actually ask you to do? Don't vote for Democrats. That's the purpose of TYT right now. They are in the voter suppression game. That's it. Because on the one hand, if Democrats are successful in their incremental way, it brings the lie to all the shit they've been selling for a long time. And on the other hand, it's sort of like vengeance. Fuck you. I hope you know, I'm not going to show up. I hope you fail. I don't care who's hurt. I don't care who dies or goes broke or what rights are swept away during that stuff. I need to be inspired by you doing what I say, even if I don't have a majority of voters to support my ideas, which is straight up fucking fascism to some degree. What else is it when 23% says my way or the highway while alleging to believe, you know, the same things you and I believe? Humoristic pragmatism? Are these other words for optimistic stoicism? But here I would like to say, for the record, just in case we're putting our chess pieces on the board, vote. Vote every time, commit to voting, and vote for a candidate that will actually get elected. Protest votes are childish, they're dismissive, and they're an act of privilege, to use the parlance of our time. If you can make a protest vote, you live privileged lives. You have a responsibility to vote for one of the two people that's going to get elected in one of these things, and you're supposed to vote for the one that will do the least damage. No for corporate Dems, vote for progressive Dems. You're wrong, Al. Nah, fuck that, Rich. There are no, if you have a Dem in your district, vote for that Dem. If you live in fucking Iowa, you're not going to get an AOC to vote for. I'm not talking about primaries. The fucking primaries are over, but for a few. I do live a privileged life, though. Yes, but you live a cruel privileged life is what I would say, Doc. Yes, entitled, arrogant, bratty, selfish pricks. If you have an opportunity to choose between the lesser of two evils, choose less evil every fucking time. And the idea that you could do a protest vote in a general election, considering that the other party, the Republicans in this situation, want to sunset every social program every 5 years. I don't mean cuts. I don't mean modifications. I don't mean raising the retirement age. I don't mean changing the tax code. I mean gone. And if you're not inspired by the fact that one group is trying to find a manageable, normal way of helping these programs survive and move forward and adding things where you can and cutting things that aren't necessary and doing the normal, like, constant gardening that adulthood fucking takes, compared to people who just want to make sure that people who are on Medicare and Medicaid or Social Security are fucked. They're on their own. We should have let them die a long time ago. If that's the attitude, then just own up to it. Just join the Boogaloo Boys. Between Dore and Kurt, who's less evil? Technically speaking, ironically enough, it would be Dore because he is at least avowedly for Medicare for all. Kurt is actually a conservative. Jimmy lets it, I mean, it's horseshoe theory. They overlap. He's more of a Like he's a Jordan Peterson fan, you know, from the right. He's got more incel tendencies. And Kurt probably votes, so he'll vote that way. So Jimmy, because he doesn't vote, is the lesser of two evils because he's basically he's a flaccid prick. But neither one of them are running. That's what I'm saying. Like, neither one of them are the option. If you're in a situation where you've got a progressive Dem running in for Congress in your area or for Senate or whatever, and they're running the primary and they're going to win, knock yourself the fuck out. Even if they're not, even if you really believe in them, go for it. Campaign for them, campaign for their ideas, push. But once if they don't win, the idea that somehow they deserve to not only have one, even though they didn't, but that you now are sort of absolved of any responsibility in the general election because your candidate didn't win. So you get to enact like sour grapes vengeance on the Democrat that did beat them in the primary and not vote. When the stakes are so high on the other side, the thing is, I question the idea that you ever believe the progressive idea in the first place. If you're willing to sacrifice people like that, I call bullshit. I think it's a lie. I think in that case, you are lying about your ethics, your virtue, your belief in the worth of a human being. I think it's all for show then. Because if your candidate loses in the primary and your response is to vote for the other party or not at all, you didn't believe what that candidate wants at all. It's a lie. You're a liar in that case. It's gross. And you're willing to sacrifice a bunch of people because, you're going to take your football and go home. It's nasty. It is morally reprehensible. Progressives are maggots in blue. There's an argument for that. But I'm speaking one-to-one to people who would be like that if they ever see this at any time. I've been accused of vote shaming. You're goddamn right. If you voted for Trump or you left it blank in 2016, you ought to be fucking ashamed of yourself. And that shame shouldn't be something that defines you as a human being going forward. It should change your behavior. It should wake you up to the privileged, petty, arrogant, selfish awfulness of your previous behavior and make you, in future, act better. We all have regrets. I am not one of these people who says don't have regrets because regrets, whatever had happened, made you who you are. Well, maybe who you are needs some improvements. And the awareness of that regret can be a moral guidepost on how to be a better fucking person. Other than that, I have no opinion. All right. I'll see you guys later. I stayed over. You guys are fantastic. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Vote.org. Share it everywhere. Make sure everybody's registered and that their registration is up to date because they are going to be rat fucking this election like crazy. Love you guys. Okay, bye.